Great Tuesday. Welcome to the Art of Othering podcast. I'm your host, King. I'm joined by the host, Rachel and Todd. How you all doing today?
Good, King.
And one of the things we want to get started with, Rachel, is our normal check-in procedure is just what's your gratitude? What's your spiritual energy number from 0 being life sucks to 10 being life is awesome? What would you say you are right here in this moment?
I am alive. Therefore, I am a 10.
There you go. I love that. How about yourself, Todd? What would you say you are in your spiritual energy number right now from being 0 being life sucks to 10 being life is awesome?
I'm very close to 10. There's always something that's in there circling around. I want to be honest, but I'm very happy to be here, and I'm happy that this is happening. And mostly happy to see Rachel being able to do this. That's my number one. Gratitude for being here, and also very thankful for you, King, and the support you have in putting this out here.
So, gratitude for you joining, Todd, and sharing that. And I join you both. I'm a 10, and I'm a 10 because every morning when I wake up, I go through a list of things I'm grateful for. And once I conclude my list, it's hard to not be a 10. And just things I'm grateful for is my life, my health, my ability to sit here, walk, talk, stand, breathe, and have a sound mind. 24 hours, another 24 hours to pursue my purpose in life. I'm grateful for my problems because actually my problems give me the opportunity to grow. And that's where the wisdom comes in. And I'm grateful for having an understanding as well, and just grateful for technology and being able to build with you all both. And as you said, Todd, see Rachel here with us, presence-wise, spirit-wise, and a 10. That's definitely a blessing. So that's my gratitude list this morning. You all definitely feel free to share your gratitude list as well.
Well, I'm grateful to both of you for your tremendous support, and in doing this, King. And grateful for the reminder of why I'm at a 10. And it's not just because I'm alive. It's because when I look through all of the illusions, I can't not be at a 10. It's the illusions and the false constructs that keep me from actually saying and stating and knowing that I'm at that 10 level, regardless of all of it. Because as a spiritual being, rather than a human being, that's all we have, I think, is to be at that highest peak and to go through all of these experiences and try and maintain that high number of that number 10 while you're experiencing, while you're adventuring through all of this. I think that's the job, so to speak.
Absolutely. Todd, anything you want to share on your gratitude list?
I too get up in the morning and do some basic breath work. I have some stones that I got in Sedona that really help me go inside, help me tune into a certain frequency. And then I have a few other basic things I do to help just wake myself up and center myself. And it makes a big difference. And just, I don't know the right answers for it right now. I'm thinking positive, but it's not that simple. And I'm a firm believer in allowing everything that's coming through. And so there's always challenges. But as you say, King, I'm even grateful for those challenges because they give me something to focus on and something to strive for.
Absolutely. As we really begin to discuss this even more, to your point, Todd, I just wanted to share this. that when it comes to positive thinking, my personal experience, I think a lot of people think that you can just try to discipline yourself to think positively because someone says that's what you should do. But I realized that for me, that didn't work. It wasn't just a matter of like standing out in a storm with outside of my house, pure and wet, and then saying I'm happy just to try to convince myself of that. It's more about, for me, it was more about focusing on the things that I am grateful for, the eyesight, the ability to see. So despite the other storms that's happening, if those things are working correctly, then that to me is enough for me to be positive about. And then the thing that's causing negative energy in my life, whether it's bills, whether it's relationships, whether it's family, then I realized that that's just a passing cloud. Like, yeah, it's here right now, but that's going to eventually pass and it's not going to be there anymore. And just learning to be the observer in that. And it's not a permanent switch. It's not once you do it and it's forever done. It's a challenge every single time. So that's just kind of my personal experience and thoughts in that.
Yeah, what you're saying's getting me to think of something. The subject's been, I mean, it goes around and around, this subject, but in the last couple of weeks, at least around me, the subject of people calling themselves light workers, or the ones that are always just focused on the love and light, and it's always positive. I think it's a bit complicated. I think that's a good start. And then after a while, it can be like overshadowing, hiding what else is there. I think the best use of that is to build up strength so that you can get yourself in a strong, positive position, and yet look at the things that are coming up for you that don't feel right, things that you want to change, stuff that you haven't wanted to look at in the past. And there's a lot of power in being able to hold that space all at the same time. A long time ago, people were saying it was all good. And after a while, I said, that's as foolish as saying that it's all bad. They're both nonsense. And I do believe that we all need things that inspire us and that help us, and going through our list of what we're grateful for is a perfect tool for that. And then we also need the strength to be able to look at. And I think a lot of times, just what you said, King, that you just have to be willing to look at it and allow yourself to see what it is you're not liking or what it is that's not working. You don't necessarily even have to try to change it. Just the fact of allowing yourself to see it consciously, things will start shifting. You'll start making different choices.
Absolutely. And Rachel, you have any thoughts on that or anything you want to share about what you discovered last week?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I always am focusing on, but it's been more prevalent and in my forefront vision this past week, is the truth in general. What is true? And I see all this stuff going on around me, or stories coming to me, and do I know that's true? Maybe it's true for someone else. And what is truth? But truth is, I feel like it's an individual construct, I guess, if you will. And it's also a collective. So in order to sit with a collective, or within a collective and connected to a collective, then you have to decipher what your own truth is, and knowing what's true for you. And to do that, like Todd was talking about, you have to really sit with things like, is it all good? And like what you said, I use the bad for the good, and then in my thoughts recently, I'm like, well, there is no bad and there is no good. There is. These are experiences. We've put connotations on them. And in doing that, I bring it back to the topic of our discussion here, othering. Like, this topic is good. This topic is bad. So we've othered them. We've opposed them instead of accepting them for whatever the truth of them are, whatever the truth of the matter is. Yes, this is happening. Okay, that is. And to walk through it with that type of an understanding, that's not to say that you just walk through and let atrocities happen or, anything of like that, but you don't allow it to adhere to you and you don't allow it to dictate who you are. You don't allow it to become you, or you don't allow yourself to identify as these things, notions, ideas, because you're able to sit inside of yourself and know your truth, which is really important. And it's not easy to do. But gratitude, that helps you get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For me, it's imperative that I have to be grateful, because if I'm not, then I allow myself to go down the rabbit hole of lack. And I call it a rabbit hole because that hole runs deep. I mean, the further you fall into it, then you start finding everything lacking. And
Yes.
And then as you begin to go down that road, to your point about othering, and this is where I'm writing about, I really found in my research that everything really comes down to identity and how you see yourself. And when you see yourself, and if knowing that you never chose your identity was given to you by your parents, your society, tell you that this is who you are, and you grew up to accept that. But the problem with that is when someone else gives you your identity, is that means that you can be triggered by that identity, because everyone tells you that the identity is being attacked, and then now you have to defend that identity. And see, what I've learned is it really comes down to this crux situation for everybody you meet and you talk to, any soul, that is really asking them what is their identity and how do you identify yourself. And that comes down to this question, because we have many descriptions of ourselves, but I believe we have really one identity, and it can change. It does change throughout life. Is that your identity is what you're willing to die for or what you're willing to kill for. It always comes down to that. And I know that for me, my identity now is fully human, and that's a mountain I stand on, and I'm willing to die for that identity, in the context that I wouldn't change that or let someone threaten my life and say, oh, if you don't change your identity, then this is a consequence. It's more of, I chose that identity. That's the most important part. It's identity I chose based on my level of knowledge and wisdom, as opposed to identity that was given to me, such as my race was given to me, my gender was given to me, my city I was born in given to me, my name given to me. All these things are not things I chose as a soul, but things that were told to me by someone else. And I realized how much an impact it has on you, because, like I said, you can be triggered at any time based on the identity that you hold so dear to you, that you're willing to defend and allow yourself to change your state from gratitude to a state of, now I have to be in defensive mode, or I got to be aggressive because my identity was threatened in one shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah. And like you said, your identity changed. You can never be the same person from one moment to the next, even, because so much more information or uncovering or anything, whatever it is, has come to you now as opposed to then. And it's just like the analogy of a river. It's never the same in the same spot ever. It's always different. It's always changing. But I think the problem is when we try to hang on to it, not, and also and not being able to be aware of ourselves enough to uncover and realize what you were saying too about all of this was given to us. This is given to us from, like you said, our name, our family structure, our community structure, and then to break free of that within yourself and to really look into yourself and find your own truth and realize that hanging on to all of these things that were given to you as your identity aren't you, and the ability to let go of that is so freeing. But it's also scary because once you let go of that, what do you have? Like, you really have to do the work then and say, all right, who am I really? And I think that's one of the hardest things that humans have to do is figure out who they are. And fortunately, a lot of us, I shouldn't say most of us, I live in a small world, so many of us have learned that we lean on each other and we learn from each other, and we have each other to help us in those moments where we have to go deep and we have to go inside, and someone else is there holding the space for us, or something else is there holding the space for us, and we know that because we've had that support from others. Those are good others, and I just put a connotation on others.
Well, that speaks directly to the art, the title of the show, the art of othering, right? There's an art to it. Yeah. Ty, like you had some thoughts that you want to share?
Yeah. I mean, I'm agreeing with what's being said, and there's a deeper layer too, I think, which is exactly that. We're taught that we need to have a belief system. We're taught that we need to have a stance and an opinion. We need that basically we're supposed to pick a side, because then they're going to hand us, well, here's the sides. It's like a football game. You're going to be Republican or you're going to be Democrat. And just the ability to be able to step back and observe in all angles and whatever's happening. You know, like you were presenting, I can't remember, maybe I was just reading something in the emails before this, you know, that, yeah, somebody's saying something on TV, and maybe it's from your program team or the team that you grew up with. You know, I think football is a perfect analogy here, right? So we grew up being Buffalo Bills fans, and it's still in my heart because it's my mother's family's, you know, but it's just fun for me. I sit and watch the game, and then that's it. And I watch people get very caught up in it. If you look in England, you look at the football games, right? Because, you know, interestingly, in America, we didn't call the sport that you throw with your hand most of the time football, maybe because it looks like a foot. I don't know what, but, you know, the rest of the world, the biggest sport in the world is actually a game that you play with your feet, and they call it football. But they'll have battles. They'll have all gangs in Europe over, you know, outside the stadium. They'd fight each other about whose team's the best. And so, yeah, if you can step back and just watch yourself and go, okay, that was interesting what this person was saying, but they're trying to feed me information and get me to plug into this information. I think that's the best observations to learn at first. And so you end up just watching for a while. But then a lot of times, if you look at it objectively, I find myself saying, well, how do I know? I don't know this person on TV. I really don't have much way of researching or time or will to even research who they are, where they came from, where the information came from. I'd have to hire a detective to determine the validity of the information. And my bottom line often becomes, I have no idea. That was interesting what they said. Maybe something to contemplate for a minute, literally, like 60 seconds. And otherwise, I have no idea. I don't really know. And I think that's what led me in this conversation to thinking about even the deeper programming, which is we're programmed to think that we know, we're programmed to come up with a stance that we know what the answer is. Otherwise, you have to stand there and go, I have no idea, really. Nor does it really matter to me. I haven't had the news on now in 6 months because we only have internet. We don't have, news station TVs. And before that, I was in a place where it was on all the time. And I don't miss it one bit. I don't feel like I've missed a thing. Everyone's like, well, but you don't know what's going on in the world. I'm like, you mean I don't know what they want me to tell me to think about what's going on in the world? That's the only thing that I don't know. And it hasn't affected me a bit.
Does it make you feel different that you're not exposed to news media?
Well, I think if you dig deeper, they obviously have studied, voices, sounds, inflections, colors, frequency, all of these things to, promote whatever they're trying to promote at the moment. And I feel better that I don't have all of that stuff coming through me. I'll admit that I probably watched a little too much TV lately because I think that, that same construct, I think you'd call it, okay, isn't even in the, they call it television programming.
Right. They basically
you don't need to overstudy. Some things are right in front of your face.
Or lie vision.
What does that mean?
Lie
vision programming.
Yeah.
And what do they call it? They call it, well, it's a program. Which program are you going to watch?
That. Right.
It really easily becomes very obvious. Now, and some of it's good, some of it's people are really trying to tell a good story, to be thought provoking, to, give somebody some hope and something to be grateful for. And maybe a lot of it's just not. Maybe a lot of it's just, like sugar. If sugar was invented right now, it'd be called a drug. And then seriously, because it's a refined plant down to a white powder, and you eat it, and it goes directly into your bloodstream and hypes your whole system up and hardwires your system to want more.
It's one of the most addictive substances.
Well, then they made it high fructose, so they took enzymes and basically partially digested and broke down the sugar. So when you drink something that's high fructose, which basically means it's been stripped of all of its minerals and anything resembling the rest of the plant, and then it's been broken down so that when you take it into your body, other than like shooting it into your bloodstream or maybe eating some sort of speed, it's a drug.
And again, you get to you get to choose that, though. These are all of these things that you're talking about are choices, from the environment that you put yourself in. Yes, you're born and you're given what you're born into, but at a certain point you reach a stage in your life where you're allowed to make your own choices. And you may come up against that as a child. And sometimes it's how strong are you within yourself to allow yourself to be yourself. And sometimes it's a matter of just how strong are you to come to that point of allowing yourself to recognize any of it. And to add on to that, everybody has a different configuration. So, maybe one person is specifically designed to monitor all of the, we'll say, news channels of the world to try and pick out for themselves, for their own truth, what the truth actually is. So I always go back to the individual truth is somewhat related to your individual choice in how you want to experience and how you choose to be in this time and space and how you choose to contribute to it. And like I choose to contribute to it, yes, based on some of the things that would be labeled as traumas or uncomfortable parts of my life that have pushed me to look at another way of living other than what that was, and yearning and wanting that, but not just for myself but for others, because without others, other humans and nature, I can't exist. So without me being able to identify that, my life is really rough. And I think that however it is for each person individually to get to that space of seeing their own truth is really important. But everybody's different.
And, I want to add to that. And I'm glad, Ty, you joined us because you have the background in this. And this was a blessing to meet you all, to have folks who understand this. You look at it from a quantum perspective. My issue with letting someone else tell you your identity is that they take away your ability to, again, choose it. And then understanding that once you do choose it, you now are the observer. Just like, to your point, Rachel, you didn't exist until someone else observes you. It's something to be a particle and a wave until it's observed. And when you observe yourself, and I call it the self triad, you have your feminine and you have your masculine energy. And you can observe and choose which one of those you want to allow yourself to be governed by at that particular time in your life and that choice you're making. And when someone says you're a male, and then they tell you that here's what the description of a man is, and it doesn't have that ability to do that, now you limited yourself with the ability to even see your feminine energy at all. And now the feminine is just looked at as just being purely women, as opposed to an energy and a set of characteristic traits around that energy. And people don't understand that. And so then when you say, well, you're masculine and feminine, then people think, well, that means you're gay. So you're tapping into your gay side. And that's how it gets interpreted, because folks don't have that understanding of energy at all. And nothing, to your point about, as you said, Ty, programming that we get, unless you watch the Gaia channel, that's probably the only exception, or some rare videos on YouTube that I watch that talk to this training that we should all understand, that when we allow ourselves to be boxed in, and it's like just going through a box, and people don't realize that when you box yourself in, what you're doing is you're teaching the construct literally how to communicate to you and how to speak to you. You say, okay, I'm a black male, I'm 56 years old, I like Baltimore Ravens, I live in this city, I like this music, I like this clothing, I like this type of women. And you go through that. So now, and you start getting information sent to you that fits exactly what you just told the algorithm, what you want to see and who you are. And then you wonder why you've been driven now to go buy something. Like, why am I even here shopping? It was because you've been programmed, because you gave it exactly the parameters that you were told you were chosen. And once you get your critical thinking hat on, and that's what I really want to emphasize, you should always question something that's been told to you. To me, that's what I believe. And, that's what, if you read the Bible, I forgot what scripture, but somebody that asks, how do you get into the kingdom of heaven? It says, become like a child. And those who have children know what that means. The children's always inquisitive. Children don't know. So they ask you, Why is this red? Why is the moon here? Why is this yellow? Why all these crazy questions that as an adult you think we've already been taught to all these answers. And this child is asking you all these questions, and people say, they get on my nerves asking all these questions. Stop asking questions. And you condition the children to stop asking questions to the point, just conform is what you're saying. Just accept the fact that Christmas can be December 25th if you believe that. I'm not here to debate that date, but what I'm saying is the critical thinking part that's lacking is, well, if you say he died on Good Friday and he rose on Easter, but that always changes. How come that's never questioned? Why is Easter never April 25th every month or March 23rd or May 5th? It changes. Now, you understand astrology, you understand why it changes based on the solstice. I mean, the spring equinox. But if you don't even understand that part, the critical part should make yourself say, why is his birth never changes, but his death does? Right? Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of critical thinking that's lacking in our society. And we just accept that. And then we build a whole system of marketing around it to say, well, Christmas is Santa Claus, external to you and your parents. Your parents go to work hard, work 16 hours a day to give kids gifts, and then give all the credit to someone external to the house. And then go and you shop for Easter and you give candy and you spend all that time buying candy, coloring eggs, and give all the credit to an Easter bunny. And so you're teaching your kids that you're not the source of their happiness. It's external to them. And you combine it with the sugar, like you're saying, and you say, if you want to really be happy, that's external. So now you got to eat these brands. You got to eat. And look at the name Fruit Loops. I ate Fruit Loops my whole life. I didn't realize until I was 45 that it wasn't spelled Fruit. It was Froot. I assumed it was fruit because they had fruit on the pictures of fruit on the box, and they're telling you it's grape and it's orange, but it tells you Fr00T. I mean OOT is how they're spelling it on the box. They let you know it's not fruit at all. But they convince you and you program, and it's to your point, Todd, it's right there in front of you. And because people don't critically think, we conform, we accept, and we just teach that to our kids, and it just becomes generationally how everybody accepts things. And then when you say that you don't do that, then you're the outlaw. Oh, you don't celebrate Easter? You don't celebrate Christmas? Now, you're the one that's strange because to you, it doesn't make sense to give all the credit to these external sources instead of yourself.
And then there's the other side of accepting it too, King, where you're kind of sitting back like, okay, you want to play that game, then that's great. That's your life. And you're accepting of people having that in their lives. And I think that's an important part of finding peace inside of yourself is to allow others to have that, to have those experiences, so long as they're not overlapping and causing issues in your life, which everything is a ripple, right? So, I mean, we can't just all go in a cave and meditate for the rest of our lives either. We have to be able to participate somehow and find that connection amongst each other, that commonality that promotes a better life for all. But how do you do that when we all have a different idea of that? And rightfully so. I'm not saying that there should be one person having that idea. Follow me. I don't want to follow somebody. I want to live truly in my heart. So getting to the core of the actual truth of existence, I think that there's something inside each of us that we each have that is the same, and that's how we can connect. And I think that that's, well, maybe two things: love and gratitude. And just to be able to be like, okay, you celebrate Easter and you buy your kids a bunch of candy and you love that, and I see how happy you are, and I'm not going to judge you for that. I'm not going to other you because you do that. That's your choice. And look at what it's doing. Look at the beautiful time you get to be with each other and have with each other. And I don't know, maybe that time that they get to share with each other, eating all that fructose is promoting them to talk about the next steps in their lives and bringing them closer together. And maybe because they're being closer together, maybe they're able to create something amongst each other that was never thought of, and it's really helpful for someone else. So there's so much othering in so many depths and so many different ways, and that's why we call it an art, because you have to be able to navigate it over here and up there and down here, and it's fascinating to me. And I think that's key. Keep it fascinating. And like you said, like the child, like being the child and keeping that that childlike wonder about things, and that fascination. And something else you said about being the observer. If you're the observer, does that mean that the other people are putting on a show? I just kind of had that imagery in my mind. Like, if I'm an observer, does that mean I'm sitting back and allowing the show to happen? And there are a lot of people that are very, very concerned about what they're looking like. And I used to do that a lot myself. And what do I look like? And to others, to other people. And so am I up on the stage? Am I the one on the stage? Like, look at me, look what I'm doing. Or am I the one in the audience watching the show? And if I'm the one in the audience watching the show, I can actually be, it's swapped where I'm being trained by the one on the stage. Not always. Or am I the observer just watching the people on the stage? So it just is like this secular motion, this continual effect of all that is. And that's why I always come back to the isms. It is. It just is. I hope I made sense, because that was a weird one that just came out.
I have a similar way that keeps coming around, and that's how it works for me too, which is everything that I think that I know, I test it out all the time, or let it keep reproving itself, and it fine tunes itself, or things fall away and something else comes in. But one idea that keeps coming around for me is that I don't need any belief system at all. I need to believe in myself, which is an ongoing learning process for me. And again, if we just put things right out there for face value, none of these agendas that are coming at us are telling you to believe in yourself, or to make up your own mind, or here's the information that we have, you decide. That just rarely happens. Mostly there's, it's already written for you. Here's the answer, and here's what you can think next, and here's what to believe in today. And it's all, I think it plugs into our deeper fears, right? Some of it's tribal. I think at least our bodies have a programming that we need to stay with the tribe. So yeah, if you don't celebrate Easter, you're weird. You're not in the tribe anymore. It's really not, it has nothing to do with Easter. If you believe that Jesus rose on, from the dead, or any of that, it's really about that you don't believe the same thing as the tribe. And so you're going to get kicked out of the tribe. And so if we're anywhere near you, we're going to get kicked out of the tribe with you. And that's a really deep down program that we carry.
That we all want to be accepted.
How you look. Well, it's a survival on that level, because we need people. We need other people. So if you're, I did that when I was younger. I did that. I don't need anybody. But when I stood back and looked at it objectively, how many things that you around you right now that you use did you make yourself? And did you go and mine all the materials to get? I mean, like, it's not possible. There's I don't care if you're homesteading and living off the grid. You didn't get there all by yourself. It doesn't happen.
Anymore.
That does, and then if you add into, well, which cells are we going to talk about? A tree or a rock? You know, if you get into the Native American view of it's all alive and they're all our brothers and sisters, then yeah, no, you didn't, you know, the animals, the plants that you're eating, however you want to look at this. So there's this constant flow, which right now I'm thinking of the topic of being the observer. I think that's just, again, they're all tools. And if you take any of them to be this is the concrete answer, then it's going to be wrong, especially if it's said in English, because English is so limited and programmed all by itself. But the idea of being the observer is that you can see, oh, wait, so there's a part of my awareness that's farther back, if you will, or deeper inside than the part that resonates with how do I look, or what do I believe, or what do I think I know. There's a part behind that watching all of that. So I think it, as used as a tool to go deeper into yourself, it's great. Used as all of it can, you know, again, it can have a helping you build part of it, or it can help you mask what's going on with your reality. You can just step back and say, well, I'm just the observer here, but that's impossible too. You're always part of the system that's around you. The example that always comes to mind for me is the, you know, I love to pick on my, you know, my group of energy healers, because I do energy healing. And so there's a whole lot of, let's just think of love and light always. And there's the, I create my reality. And now there's the, well, I'm in 5D. I always exist in 5D right now. And I'm like, well, why don't you take a charge at the side of that building and get back on me and how it goes for you? And if you go through the wall, I'll be like, can you show me how to do that? Like, will you teach me how to do that? But I haven't met that. Or, you know, walk on the water. If you walk across the water, I'll be like, hey, can you show me how that works? So we can trick ourselves into thinking that there's, you know, oh, I'm 100% positive all the time, and I'm in 5D. And again, yeah, well, okay. Run at the tree and see what happens. See if you're still in 5D, because you'll go right through the tree if your whole physical body's in 5, you know, resonating that high. Like, so I don't even know that it's true that we're supposed to just completely raise our frequency. Some of the stuff that we're made out of is made of a really low frequency, meaning that it's a long sine wave, because it's really dense, hard stuff like carbon or some of the other minerals and stuff in us that makes us solid, so that we can have a solid experience. And so to say that, you know, it's just the pendulum swinging the other way, I need to just resonate at a really high frequency. I think if you ran all of your higher self through your physical body, it'd probably burn like a French fry. It's not, you know, it's too much bandwidth for this reality right here. So there's a balance, right? There's a balance of, oh, I wanted to have this experience of carbon and this experience of, you know, iron and stuff mixed with my really high frequencies of awareness all at the same time. And that stew makes this experience, as Rachel's saying, we're having experience. And I think then we want to just catch ourselves when we're getting too caught up in the experience. You know, when we all line up in the field and there's a group of people over on that way and the group of people over there, and we're rushing at each other going, we need to kill the other side because they're the other tribe. Maybe some of us will be like, whoa. wait a second, we've already done this before lots of times, and then we just got to come back around again, or whatever, however you believe that's true. Okay, I'm really rambling right now, so save me here. But
well, what I wanted, I just kind of want to comment on kind of what both of you all said there. Again, I'm looking at it. I don't proclaim to have all the answers that I'm right. Just my understanding and how I live my life through that is the understanding. Is that when I say the observer, I'm saying it from the context of being able to consciously make choices and not just react. Like one of the things that I've learned that you all have been part of for years, you sure take it for granted, but I'm just now coming into this awareness around controlling my breath and breathing. And when I learned about that, that's so fascinating to me, is that it's an activity that happens automatically. You don't have to think about breathing. But when you do think about breathing and you intentionally control your thoughts, you become the observer in that context. You're saying, I'm going to breathe this way. I'm going to hold my breath for this. I'm going to exhale for that. And your breathing becomes that much more intentional. And now you're no longer in your head thinking about all the other things. If you really get in that rhythm of thinking about your breathing, and let me count 5, let me release. And I'm not thinking about all the other things I was thinking about before I got into the exercise. But then applying it to now being an observer in your mind, it's the same thing. Most people don't realize that they're controlled by their identity. I give you an example. If someone calls someone a racial slur, well, in my community, where I was taught my identity, if someone with white skin said that, then I am to attack immediately. No quarter, act and suffer the consequences of what's going to suffer, because it's allowed. And everybody in my race would understand that, and I'll get lauded as a hero and someone who didn't take any mess. But even though I might be in jail now, or I might be dead now, that's irrelevant. I now get mentioned in folklore. But being an observer to say, oh, this person said a racial slur. Do I accept that racial slur? Should I hit him? Should I argue? Should I stop? It's having the ability to make that decision and not just be acting on that, or not acting, but having the decision to say, I'm going to act, or I'm not going to act, or I'm going to act this way. That to me is what I look at as my definition of self-mastery, that you make decisions not because of how you were culturally conditioned to be or programmed, because that decision is a decision you want to make in that moment, in that time, and I'm not going to regret it later on. That's why I think so many people have so much regret, and that's how so many people ruin their career, because now that technology allows you to tweet and reply instantly while your emotions are high. You see something, then next you know, you see everybody's reaction is like, well, I didn't really mean it that way, and that's because that wasn't you in my mind. That was just you and your identity reacting to that situation. Now that you have time to think about it and you've given it that thought, then you realize I wouldn't have said that, or I wouldn't have said it that way, or I would have put this context in the beginning, and instead of just sending the way I did. But now it's out there forever, and everybody's going to now judge you based on what you did in that moment, regardless of everything else you've done prior to that, because you tweeted that in that moment. That's who you are, and that's how everybody's going to see you, and that's going to be your brand, and you're going to be canceled, or you're going to be accepted by some, depending on who likes it and who didn't like it. And that to me is where I want to get to in my life, where I have that kind of decision in every situation. And I know it's a journey. I know that's not going to happen tomorrow, but that's the journey for me, is as many of my daily decisions that really impact my life, can I really be the observer and not the triggered person responding to an identity? And again, it's not just race. It can be country. It can be party. It can be politics. Someone come down the street and say, if you're, as you said, Buffalo Bills fan. Now, if I'm a Jets fan, I can say something about the Buffalo Bills. Now you're triggered, right? And if it catch you at the wrong moment where you just may have argued with Rachel about something, or someone cut you off at the light, and they just catch you at that one moment when they said something about the Bills, and now you attack them. And it wasn't personal to them, as Deepak Chopra, as Don Miguel Reed's teaches. It's not personal, but it was the fact that your identity was triggered. You react, you cuss them out. Now you're fighting over something that was you can't even control. You don't own the Bills. at all. They don't own the Jets, but now you are fighting because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hate them, right? They're not allowed to be able to say that comment they made about the Bills, whether it was I'm forgetting some of the Bills players now from the back in the day, but you get my point. And that's the level of mastery I strive to get to. Is if I choose to do Easter, it's because I chose this, not because my parents taught this to me and that everybody says it's Easter Sunday and Walmart has everything on sale and Target. Is because I told myself that this is something I want to celebrate with my family on this day, and I'm comfortable with that. And that's a choice I made with the knowledge and current wisdom that I have in the moment.
Yeah, being conscious and aware of it. It goes back to what you first started talking about just now, King, you're talking about breath and being consciously aware of your breath. And I don't necessarily know if this is actually true or not, but somewhere along the way, somebody told me that dolphins breathe consciously. Like all of their breaths are conscious breaths. And that was fascinating to me. Like, what if I was aware of every single breath I took and how I took it and when I took it and the depth of it? And like, I just was blown away by that. And then it led me later to, think about my thoughts. If I'm consciously aware of all my thoughts, like you're talking about, then wow, we could have some really creative things going on in our world, right? Instead of just following blind to the beat of the drum or whatever it is that we're following. And I've been through all these different stages and labeled them all differently. Like, I'm not a follower. As a teenager, as a rebellious, I'm not a follower. And later finding out that that's great that you're not a follower, or, some of those I'm not a follower thoughts were derived from I'm not going to conform, or I'm going to do whatever I want. And I'm just going to be reckless. So there's always these dualities. So like Todd, what you were saying about the balance is so important. And that everything, when you look at one thing, one little tiny thing, it can be, I feel like, and this is my belief system currently, and it changes, that one thing can be everything. If you look at it, if you go around it from every single angle, I think that you can find everything in anything. Even something that's been deemed as having a bad label to it, you can find the good in it. So you can find the learning experience in it. It's just a matter of allowing yourself to sit back and find those different awarenesses. And it's not just one.
Not that I didn't have the ability before, but I think we help each other. Rachel's really helped me be conscious of, okay, so we're going to choose to go with my family for Easter dinner. And I've even had people call me out. Well, Todd, you talked about this and that, and the timing, and the bunny rabbit that lays little chocolate eggs, and the on and on thing. And I'm like, yeah, but right now I'm choosing to just go be with my family. And I don't know, maybe we could talk about ascension for a second if I get really lucky, but otherwise you're just going to celebrate and enjoy being together. And I'm going to choose right now to disregard all the other, how did we get here? Or how did this get inspired to happen? And just go with the fact that it was inspired to happen and for people to come together and to celebrate.
Yeah.
And then I can carry on about the bunny that lays chocolate eggs and stuff later on. But
there's always something.
Like stepping back and being aware enough. Is it observing? That's one way to look at it. But being aware enough to go, oh yeah, that is, what am I going to get out of this? Do I really want to, pound on Easter right now, or do I want to go and eat dinner with my family, be happy, and help my mom be happy that everybody's gotten together? And she had a reason to get everybody together.
Right. And so that's what I believe is that at the end of the day, that's all I advocate, is that being aware of the fact that you are being programmed. You know, it's like I have conversations with people about AI. Of course, I'm one of the people who lean into at least large language models AI, different forms of AI. And people say, well, I don't like AI and I don't use it. I'm like, well, it's used on you, whether you like it or not. If you're watching anything streaming, it's algorithms that's controlled by AI. If you listen to any music streaming and you don't create your own playlist and you listen to Spotify's, YouTube's, Apple Music, whatever it's curated by AI. You go to the doctor, AI is an integral part of our lives in every way we deal with right now. So it's not accepting to use AI and not, it's choosing to make sure the AI doesn't use you. And that's the choice you want to make. And so AI is a tool now. It's a tool just as much as a carpenter uses a power drill. You can do it with screwdriver and you can feel pride in that, or you can use a drill to get it done faster. And that to me is, now, yes, AI can be a weapon. It's a mirror. To me, it's a mirror of your soul. If your soul is evil, AI is going to help you do evil on a whole nother level that you couldn't do prior to it. But yeah, I'm going to prove to the world that AI is a way of being and giving love, and that creating love, I can do more love and have more of an impact that I can do prior to AI. And I just want to share with you all as a segue before we get ready to end the show. I call it a frequency signal that I created utilizing AI. I wrote the song. I chose the beat and the instruments and everything around it, but AI is the ones that put everything together into my mixture. So I want to share this with you all because it's called critical thinking, and I think it encompasses our conversation. And my intent behind these, I call them, and it's not a genre. I don't like boxes. Right? It's designed to be a sermon or a lecture and has music to it. So it's not designed to just be a loopy song that just says the same thing every time, but it's designed to hit your harmonies and rhythms. And so it plants these seeds. So I want to share this with you all, and let you all give me your honest thoughts on it. It's called critical thinking.
This is not music. The AI is the instrument. The architect is online. This is my frequency signal, King.
Powerful people cannot afford to educate the people that they oppress. Because once you are truly educated, you will not ask for power, you will take it.
Dr. John Henrik Clark. Powerful people cannot afford to educate the people they oppress. Because once you are truly educated, you will not ask for power, you will take it. This is not music. This is a frequency signal. The AI is the instrument. The architect is online. George Clinton told you free your mind and your ass will follow. But while you stay plugged into the construct's power grid, you are mentally enslaved, programmed to consent to your own control. Your signal runs to infinite intelligence at love 500 hertz. The construct scrambles the transmission and hands you back the wrong messaging. It is the master power move, altering the definitions of the words tied directly to your soul. Let's descramble the signal, clear the line. Your human form is finite, caught inside the linear strain. They keep the language ambiguous to free your processing brain. They tell you the words are subjective, a sleight of hand on the screen, designed to turn you external, dependent on the machine. Look at love, the language of the universe, the synonym for God. The construct recoded it to lust, to drain and trap a counterfeit fraud. Look at joy, the pure bliss that rises from the gratitude within. They swapped it for dopamine hits, sugar screens in the market it's in. Look at peace, a quiet mind, the steady essence of the soul. They sold you a day off from work and handed the grid full control. Look at happiness, the natural yield of the love energy field. They turned it into the next purchase, leaving the fracture unhealed. I'm a sovereign architect. The construct can't buy what it can't price. Money won't move me. Money is energy. I attract it. I don't chase it. I don't extract it. You believe in hoarding and leaving, skimming the cream. I believe in connecting, co-creating, lifting the deserving. Soul to the dream. Soul governs the heart. The heart instructs the head. The order restores. Service is the climb. That's how the frequency is fed. They re-engineered freedom, which is simply to stand as your sovereign, authentic self, and shrink it to financial capital, buying more objects of counterfeit wealth. They branded success, which is the increase across all 8 forms of energy, and sold you deeper, enslaving deck careers and managed dependency. They preach about equity, the power position where true equality can rise, but deliver relative equality, a measured handout, cut the demographic size. They assets strip value, what the soul instinctively produces for the earth, and traded it for material tokens that charge a soul to validate your birth. Look at wealth is living in gratitude, clear sight, true hearing, a sound mind. The construct calls it hoarding paper currency, stripped from a universe gone blind. They took vote, which meant to wear a live awaken, standing on your feet, and locked it in a political ideology, a label for the construct's deceit. They tell you be nice, a pleasant gesture, a performative shortcut on the bus, but kindness puts action in the heart, a systemic build rooted in sacred trust. They tell you to work, spend finite physical energy to make their agents $1, but generative energy creates new life and breaks the lease off the tenant's column. Sovereign architect, the construct can't buy what it can't price. Money won't move me. Money is energy, I attract it, I don't chase it, I don't extract it. You believe in hoarding and leaving, skimming the cream. I believe in connecting, co-creating, lifting the deserving. Soul to the dream. Soul governs the heart. The heart instructs the head. The order restores. Service is the climb. That's how the frequency is fed. The head says leave, the heart says stay, and you call that despair. But that war was manufactured, the construct built it there. There is no civil war in the skull when the soul sits on the throne. Soul governs the heart instructs the head. You are never numb, never alone. CVS stays open 24 hours to sell you the fix that keeps you sedated. The only salvation is to dissolve the construct and free the soul they confiscated. The definitions are restored, the code is clean. My intent is your increase, I am a valuable connection. This is what it means to be fully human. Ancestors, we call your name. We call your name, and you answered, broadcasting my signal. Are you picking up?
Thank you all for listening. So just curious to see what your thoughts, not necessarily your genre of music, but just any thoughts you all have.
I just love, King, how you utilize something that is being labeled as bad, like, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Oh, that's a bad person, they murdered someone. Well, what's coming of that? What's coming of that? And you can walk around the whole parameter of it and say, wow, there's this gift, this gift, this gift, this gift, or this movement forward, or this evolutionary progress that's happening as a result of this one thing. Thank you for recognizing that and utilizing that tool. And I love the color. Wow, that was a perfect color for me. That really resonated.
I enjoy what we're learning, now that we've gone down this path with the AI a little bit, and you see all the corporations that bet big time on AI and they're having to backpedal. I'm just glad to see what was in my sense of it happening. A friend of mine who was involved with IBM way in the beginning looked at me and he's just like, it's just software, Todd. However you want to cut it, it's computer software. That's all it is. It's more advanced than we had before. It's that basic. And the bottom line becomes who's running it, which led me right into, yes, we need this high frequency information, but it's also because we want to have a iron, some of these things I make up as I'm getting them, we want to have this iron carbon reality that we chose to come and be involved with. And that, we're the ones organizing. And of course, if you look at it, that it's all consciousness, they're agreeing to be part of our body, but we're the ones organizing it. And so, yeah, it's just the same as saying, well, AI is all bad. It's like, well, how are you gonna use the AI? Right? Nobody's gone into space mechanically without AI. There's no race of beings that have ships that they live on that kind of, until they maybe make light ships just out of their own beings. I think that can happen. But short of that,
I don't think we know that.
I think it's all the above. I think the answer is all the above. There's the ones that have fully tried to control everything, and that goes a certain route. And there's the ones that have tried to work with it and use each component for what it is and respect it, including, some of those forms of, what if you had a machine that was built for you to inhabit, to incarnate into, and you were the ship. You chose for a while to be a ship. I'm going way out there, but the point is that it's like what are you going to choose? Now, what are you going to be? Now, what are you not? Now, what do you believe in? Now, which team did you pick 20 years ago? So now you're on that team. It's, taking in the information and choosing.
Absolutely. We're going to go ahead and get ready to end the show. We're running up on our time now. But I want to thank you, Rachel and Todd, for your input. Thank you for investing your time and energy to listen to the song as well. And just another great episode, I believe, of The Othering. Any closing thoughts we can share in 1 minute before we wrap up that y'all are going to share to the listening audience?
I just want to say thank you.
I'll second that. Yeah.
But gratitude, you all, for listening. This has been The Art of Othering. And until next Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, let's all look for ways to continue to be fully human. Thank you.